Good afternoon. This is your host, Miss Pillai. Today I will be discussing something very interesting with all of you. Whenever there is a very quick wind, very high intensity wind blowing, what do you feel? There is something. Yes, there is something which we call it as air. We feel it, but we have never seen it. Yes or no? So today the topic which we will be discussing is air around us. So, what is air? If you ask, there is no properly we can explain it, but its composition of different gases one can tell. That is because of several researches that have been conducted on. In previous time, it was believed that air is made up of only one component, which came out to be false as succeeding researches happened. So, whenever we talk about air, we had fun with air when we were very young. We used to fly kites, we used to make firkis, and that is fans, which moves in a direction when strong wind is blown. We used to have a lot of fun with air. So, as we grow older, what we understood about air is not just composition, not just a particular gas, but it's a mixture of gas that we got to understand. Now, further, if you see this image, have you ever played with an empty bottle? Just dip the bottle under the water and just tilt it. Just tilt it as you can observe in figure 2. So you can see the bubbles that are coming out. Why is it so that bubbles are coming out? The bubbles are coming out because there was presence of air inside the bottle, and that is trying to escape from in a form of bubble. Now, when you observe, when you are in a lower altitude, there is enough presence of oxygen. As you go high and high above the altitude, for example, mountain hikers, if you see, they carry this oxygen cylinder. Why do you think they are carrying this oxygen cylinder? Any answers? Comment down on the comment sections. For now, I will answer. That is, when people travel, hike around the higher altitude, the oxygen level goes down and down. To survive that situation, hikers usually carry oxygen cylinders along with them so that they won't fall short of oxygen. Oxygen is very important for our survival. So that is the reason that they carry oxygen cylinders. What is air made up of? See, when we talk about air, it's a composition of different gases. And what leads to, you know, composition? What is this composition exactly? First composition we can talk about is water vapor. Water vapor is very much necessary as it is an active component of our water cycle. If we observe, without water cycle we are nowhere to be alive. We won't be surviving because we won't be having water. First, from any water body, the water gets heated up, the evaporation takes place. Evaporation goes up, evaporated water vapor goes up, cools down, condenses, and comes back in a form of rain. That rain gets precipitated and gets stored in different layers as a groundwater and different sources of water. Next is next compositions which we talk about is oxygen and nitrogen. What oxygen we represent it as O2 and nitrogen as N2. See, by simple experiment we can understand whether air has oxygen or not. Lit two candles under, if you are very younger child, just do it under any senior observation, any adult observation. Take two candles, take a glass tumbler, lit the two candles, close one of the candles and allow this candle to burn, allow both the candles to burn, and just close one of the lit candles. What you observe, in some time you can see this burning candle will stop burning. It will not burn ahead, and this will go on burning continuously. Why this happened? Because this candle was getting continuous supply of oxygen, and this candle was disconnected with oxygen supply. And why this went off, why this blew off, there should be another reason, right? Since there was no oxygen is one reason, since there was nitrogen that was present, that led to, blowing off of this candle. So there you can understand there is a presence of oxygen and nitrogen in our air as a component. Air is not just only oxygen, air also has nitrogen. In fact, nitrogen is in more quantity as compared to oxygen. Now, there are other components as well, not just oxygen and nitrogen in air. There is some component of carbon dioxide in air. Where this carbon dioxide comes from? Like we are the sources for carbon dioxide, obviously. What we do is when we do perform respiration, when we breathe in and breathe out, we give out carbon dioxide. And you might ask, what happens to carbon dioxide when it goes out in environment? Well, there should be some balance, right? There should be something that should maintain carbon dioxide. Yes, there is something that maintains carbon dioxide cycle, that is plants. Yes, you heard it correct. The plants which we are mercilessly chopping it off, so which should not be done. So please support afforestation and please be against deforestation. Otherwise, there would be no future for our earth. Now, next is when we are going tangent from our topic. When there is plants present, they take in carbon dioxide, perform photosynthesis, give out oxygen, which is very much required for us for survival. And we also contribute carbon dioxide in different ways, you see. That is by industry. Industrial revolution was a major contributor of carbon dioxide, as one can see in the recorded history as well. And current many gadgets which we invented are also a prime contributors for carbon dioxide. And the balance is unstable because the trees are getting down and devices are blowing up like anything. So the natural imbalance one can observe very clearly, that leads to global warming and such and other issues in our environment. For avoiding this, one can always plant a tree, make sure that deforestation is highly restricted. Dust and smoke. Obviously, these are some of the other components of air which are very harmful for us. Whenever we were young, when we tried to breathe in from our mouth, our parents used to scold us. There is a reason why they used to scold us, because from our nasal region, when we respire, our air which is going inside our nasal tract, it gets filtered, warmed, and then it goes inside. That means multi-layer filtration is happening. But when we take in air from our mouth, there is no filtration as such happening. So that could cause health issues. So this is the reason that parents scold us when we smoke, when we were we don't smoke, sorry, when we inhale smoke or dust directly from our mouth. Okay. Now, when you see the palm, when you want to observe the dust particles, when you see the ray of sunlight, you can see different dust particles in that. So these are some of the dust particles which one can observe, and smoke basically contributes to larger amount of carbon dioxide and unfortunately carbon monoxide as well in the air. Carbon monoxide is highly dangerous gas. This is the reason that our traffic police before COVID, pre-COVID period, asked us to wear mask so that we can get away from this polluted areas. As I said, the composition of nitrogen is much more than 70%, oxygen 16%, along carbon dioxide and other water vapors comprise of 5%. These are the composition of air. Okay. Now, how does oxygen become available to animals and plants living in water and soil? See, as we are land mammals, as we are surviving in land, we are able to inhale oxygen from our environment directly. But what about the animals and what about the insects and plants which are underground? Which animals or insects which are staying underground or water? See, when we boil the water, when we take water in pan and we start to boil it, we can observe is the bubbles that is coming up. What is that? Basically, it's oxygen that is coming out. And when we take the water and when we add water into the soil, what happens in dry soil? It will try to absorb the water. And when we keep on pouring the water, what does that happen? It will, dissolve the soil, and only water and water will be there around. So what does this mean? When it rains a lot, the earthworms come out of the soil. You might have heard. So why does the earthworm comes out of the soil? The pores which were there from where the water seeps in, it uses dissolved oxygen. But when there is over accumulation of water inside the soil, it won't be able to survive in there. So it comes out and then it absorbs oxygen from the skin layer. That is cutaneous respiration. It does. Cutaneous respiration means it respires through the layer of skin. Okay, this is how the respiration takes place in plants and animals. Now, how is oxygen in the atmosphere replaced? See, oxygen in the atmosphere is how it is getting replaced. Oxygen balance is taking place. See, as I said, we are the active consumers of oxygen, and plants are the active consumers of carbon dioxide. For this cycle to remain balanced, both should remain balanced. So, when we respire out carbon dioxide, it is taken in by the plants. It is used up for energy production, as we everyone knows very clearly that they are autotrophs. They are autotrophs. Plants are autotrophs. They perform photosynthesis. That means they use sunlight for their food production. Once the food production is done, energy is used. They give out oxygen and heat energy along with it. The oxygen which is given out is used by us consumers for respiration. This is how the oxygen is getting replaced in environment. This is how oxygen addition and carbon dioxide reduction is happening in the environment. We are the active contributors of carbon dioxide and plants are the active contributors of oxygen. This balance should be maintained. Now, further what we can see is what are the energy resource we are dependent upon. Sun is the primary source of energy which we are dependent upon. Next source of energy which we can depend upon is air. Yes, you heard it right. From air we can use windmills for energy generation. These windmills act as active source of energies for production of energy and supplying it for different areas. Windmills we can use. The movement of windmills helps in generation of energy, and this energies can be stored in different batteries and can be circulated in different areas. So we can use air as a source of energy as well. As simple and as easy topic as one can understand. These are some of the references which I used. NCERT textbook standard 6. Some of the images, most of the images have been taken from internet. I hope the owners are very kind enough and ignore it. This as these images are exclusively used for educational purposes. Thank you so much for listening. This is your host, Miss Pillai, signing off. Take care.